Hi, I'm Bob Trask. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my triangle, the Trask Triangle. I created this triangle 30 years ago when I realized that the three places where we human beings experience reality are in being, doing, and having. That's being, doing, and having. And there seems to be no other place where we really experience reality. If you can think of one, please email and let me know, because I haven't been able to figure out one. And when I looked at those more carefully, I realized that success in any endeavor in life works when we are able to move between being, doing, and having smoothly, so that the three of those stay in balance. And I recognize that being is a state that we are most often in rest. When we are in rest, we tend to say, "This is who I am," that we be still and know who we are. That's being. And doing is when we're taking risks, when we're moving out of our comfort zones and we're being a little bit bold, a little bit risky, trying to reach goals that we haven't yet attained. And then having, the very beautiful, wonderful place of having is the place of when. It's the place where we become aware of all that we have accomplished. So being, doing, and having. We could say that being, doing, and having are three levels of abundance, where we be abundant, we do things that bring about abundance, or we have abundance. Certainly it's very indicative of today's world when we're in this economic crisis and there are so many people out of work that we would want to think of ways that we could bring about more abundance, more security for ourselves and for our families, for the people that we love. So that we move from be to do to have in the following way. Whereas in being, where we are at rest, we then go into discovery, a process of discovery, saying, if this is who I am, and I know who I am, then I begin to become curious about what might I be able to do. If this is who I am, what might I be able to do? Maybe I'll go climb a mountain, or climb Mount Everest, or learn to scuba dive, or free dive to 100 feet under the sea, or write a book, or a poem, or paint a picture, or meet someone that I've really wanted to meet, or get a new job, or make out a resume, or meet my life's mate, or any number of things. And what we discover is that in order for us to have something different that we've never had before, we have to do something different that we've never done before. And in order to do that, we have to take a risk. Therefore, that line that goes from doing down to having is called the line of risk. And then here in this place, the wonderful place of having, is the place of win. That's where we win. That's where we acknowledge our wins. And then we move back across over on a line called self-love or self-validation, back to the place of be. Now, we'll talk a lot in the coming months about how those processes work more in depth. But today I'd like to talk to you about this one little corner right over here where we come down on the risk side, acknowledge our wins, acknowledge ourselves as winners, acknowledge that what we've done was perfect. We may not have gotten exactly the goal that we were after, but we took a risk. We moved out of our comfort zone. We did something we didn't think we were going to be able to do. We did that, and because of that, we're winners. And if we're willing to own that, and own ourselves as winners, then we can go into that process of self-love, and in that process of self-love, move back once again into being, and being on a much higher level than we were when we were in being before. So that process at that corner is sometimes difficult. We get in the habit, instead of making that perfect corner, we get in the habit of going what I call inside the triangle. Inside the triangle at this corner takes us into a place of unworthiness. says I'm not really worthy of seeing myself as a winner. I could have done it different. I could have done it better. I'm not good enough. If I acknowledge myself as a winner and start feeling good about myself right now, then that means I lack humility. That means I'm being a big shot. I'm getting too big for my britches. I'm getting a big head. So rather than acknowledge myself as a winner and go into self-love and really love myself, instead of doing that, I'm going to turn that corner and go inside the triangle into a place called unworthiness. It's a trap. It's a trap, and it stops us dead in our tracks on the path to enlightenment, on the path to being, doing, and having all that we can be in this lifetime. I want to read you something from my new book, Romancing the Soul, because there's a passage here that talks so perfectly about this. To give you a visual example of how insidious habit is, there was a dirt road on a ranch where I lived as a boy. In the wintertime, the road into the pasture became so deeply rutted by tractor tires going around the corner from the lane that by early summer we wouldn't even have to steer the tractor, because the wheels would just follow the rutted tracks all by themselves. Like that tractor going into the pasture, we have cut ruts into our consciousness, haven't we? Ruts into our consciousness. Rather than go all the way around the corner, we've cut ruts. We've made habitual patterns going into unworthiness. Have cut ruts into our consciousness so that we make the same choices over and over again without even thinking about them. Unlike rutted roads, we can change our minds, and in doing so, change our lives. Every time we consciously go around the triangle, deliberately staying on the outside, we're erasing old rut habits and expanding our futures. Our courage also expands, as does our self-confidence, and our lives widen and deepen. We're enriched and empowered every time we go around the outside of the triangle. Every time we go around the outside of the triangle. So the message today is that it's okay for us to be all that we can be and have all that we can have and do all that we can do in this lifetime. And we need never feel guilty about that, and certainly not feel unworthy of that, because it's our divine right, as were the flowers in the fields and the stars in the sky and all of the rest of the children of this universe, to be all that they can be, do all that they can do, and have all that they can have. This is Bob Trask. Thanks.